everybody to Fights Clean Sex Dirty TV
and Relationship Fun and Games.
We are in the last episode of Season 2, the Season of Peace. We're going to be looking at Sex Dirty After, and we're joined by our very, very special guests, Prana and Destin. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Yeah,
Thank you for having us.
They're actually in Kobe, Japan right now. So we're bridging the planet.
Love on the road. Yeah, the relationship actually spans 3 different countries. The U.S., Japan, and Philippines. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's right.
They get around.
They get around.
We go elsewhere as well.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome. So just a little bit about our show, if you're first-time viewers today, or just to give you a little recap. We alternate back and forth week to week on how to keep the fights clean and the sex dirty. And so you can look for the content, find the content that's most applicable to you. We also organize based on the different time periods that you want to have the fights clean and the sex dirty. We look at before, as it starts, during, and after.
Because we want you to really be able to apply the tips and the content. That's why we actually do switch back and forth each week, because even though keeping the fights clean and the sex dirty are totally interrelated at the same time, usually one is more up for someone than the other. And so that's why that topic is split up. But really even refining it a bit more, is it the seduction, that's more the as it starts time? Is it the during, and it's the things are being challenged there? And again, this is relationships in regards to your physical relationship, or in the relationship to your sense of peace and conflict, and if you're fighting. And then tonight, you want to go to that next slide, is all about how to keep the sex dirty after. And of course, when I'm saying sex dirty, I mean sex dirty in the best possible way, because the best advice we got the day we got married was, let me just tell you, all you need to know for an awesome marriage is keep the fights clean and the sex dirty.
That's where it all started.
That's where it all started. So we have been playing peace and playing passion and playing play ever since then. So today we're really excited to have Destin and Prana, and we're going to dive into that sex dirty after and what we're calling post-play, right? You've heard of foreplay, but post-play. But let's tell you a little bit about Prana and Destin. And I'm really happy to have them here. I met Destin, was so amazed and impressed seeing him speak at an incredible birthday party, a huge 40th birthday party, I think it was. And he spoke passionately, in this case particularly about women and protecting them in regards to domestic violence and domestic violence awareness and a man's relationship to that. And just his power and his passion and humility, and it was just a really beautiful thing. I wanted to know him better. And then fortunately, just after that, he taught this amazing course called Evolve Live that Raj and I both went to. What was the tagline? Like a sexual, spiritual transformation?
That's right. That's it.
All right. See, it's right there. And that was even almost a year ago.
Yeah. I still have my, I don't remember what you call it.
Medallion that we got, yes, that we infused with our power stance. And that's where we met his beloved Prana as well. But just to give you a little background from them, Destin, he's been a transformational and empowerment coach, and he specializes in awakening sexual energy, and not just for the sake of sexual energy, which is awesome enough in of itself, but how can you actually use that energy and apply it to really causing what you want to have happen in the world, your purpose and your contribution. Sex is awesome, but so often we look at, it's looked at in this world as this like almost selfish thing. But I love that. In fact, I grew up with an auntie saying, when you have an orgasm, gift it out into the world. I love that generous spirit of that energy. Like, let's use it for the greater good, right? He is globally recognized and in all sorts of realms, but sexuality, consciousness, personal transformation, and he's been doing these for almost 20 years now. He works with all sorts of clients. He had this wonderful list of all these clients, different kinds of clients, different backgrounds. I love that about him. And currently is speaking with an audience of 6 different continents regularly. He works with men, and a little later on in the show he'll get to tell you more about that. So you can see his profile here on Facebook, and we'll have another URL for you at the end, because I know you're going to fall in love with Destin and Prana and want to know how to find out more. And then Prana, and I love this when she said this her bio, the navigator of energy. I just love that. I can see her like flying and helping people guide, because life is an obstacle course, and especially sexual energy and all the projections and inherited conversations, and you think everything's great and then something pops up and rears its head. So I love that navigator of energy. And really specializes in guiding people's prana, their life force, through energetic and auric experiences. So that, again, not just for the sake of those auric experiences, but that you're really living a life that you love. She has a wide range of experiences. I'm sure she'll tell us a bit about them. And she has been inspired since the age of 7 about her own sexuality and human psychology from the time she was 12. She's been teaching Hatha Yoga for 9 years, and I love this part. It's so interesting. Living in the jungle in the Philippines, in an ashram, and studying as a disciple with a tantric master. So, Prana, thanks for coming out from the jungle to be with us here. And I also, just one last slide here, just the two of them, they've been in a romantic relationship for 2 years, but they've known each other for a decade before that and been in each other's lives. It's just so wonderful to have that rich foundation of a friendship to build on. And as I mentioned earlier, they get all around the world, but their relationship primarily, they focus in the U.S., Japan, and the Philippines.
Yes, welcome, Destin and Prana. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. Anything you want to say before we jump into our content?
I love hearing the way you describe prana. It's hearing it through somebody else's eyes and words just just helps me appreciate her in new ways, and that's always appreciated. Always appreciated.
Awesome, awesome. And again, thank you so much for the event that you put on last year. We got so much out of it and continue to, and it's just a great pleasure to have you guys on the show tonight.
Thank you. Yeah, it was really wonderful having you both there. I'm really feeling you both in the audience during as well. Yeah. You were brand new into my orbit, but you made a splash, let's put it that way.
We had a good sense of timing too. We met you at this party, and your event was just 3 or 4 weeks later. So timing is everything, and this was a good one. So, and thank you to the audience, to everyone who has joined us here today, or if you're watching the replay. It takes something. Like, people say, oh, relationship, it's work. We consider it play, but we know it does take something. So we really just appreciate you for being here and for caring enough about your relationship, not just to settle to measure the quality of your relationship by how long you've stayed together and hung in there, but by really standing for thriving in your relationship and it getting better all the time. We say EBIs, right? We're even better ifing all the time. All is well, and even better if. Which is a great transition into just a reminder about this topic of how to keep the sex dirty after. If you looked at last season, in season 1, we focused on a topic called the romp recap. And that is, in that we talk about the formula for wildly successful sex life, which is holding all is well and there's nothing wrong, and even better if, and that spirit. It's a really fun way. There's 3 different categories that you can score your sex in and really make it fun, because we're always even better ifing in life, so why not apply that to our sex life? It's pretty much guaranteed you'll have what we call best ever sexy time. So it's a good tip. So go back and check out that one. And that's written up in... And I love alliterations. And I'll just tell you, the 3 are, there's intimacy, sexiness, and technique. And so not right after sex, because that's, what we're talking about tonight, the post-orgasmic chill, but within 24 hours that you want to actually give each other that feedback, not just, you're not rating your partner, you're rating the whole experience collectively together. So intimacy, sexiness, and technique. And you get 10s across the board, that's a triple-double.
And we'll show you at the end of the show, you can access last season's episodes, and this was in
Season
1, Episode 8, the romp recap. You can check out the replay on that if you'd like.
And we had Adam Galad and his new wife, Sandy, on that one, otherwise known as Sandy Pants, and they gave us some great tips. Emergency sex. It's one fun thing of doing this work is that we now get tips from our friends and colleagues on our sex life. So something will happen, like Raj said, hey, emergency sex. I was like, oh yeah, emergency sex. Thanks, Adam.
Yes.
I'm thinking of my friends now. And they also gave us 24-hour foreplay and the 2 key elements of a successful relationship. So you can check out that past episode or blog on the website. Right? So we want to get to all of the great tips and ideas because we know that they're so different and complementary for Destin and Prana, but we want to share just one specific tip from this season, this episode, this topic, and then we'll get to all of the goodies that they brought with them today.
And also just a little bit about how the sequence of the show will go tonight. At around 10 past the hour, if you're on Pacific time, 6:10, we're going to make the button under the video player go live, and you can click on that and join us live in the Hangout and interact with us and ask any questions that you might have.
Yep, you can ask questions in the comments, or you can actually come on video and raise your hand by putting something in the comments, and we'll take your question live.
Great. We'll let you know when that button goes live. We look forward to seeing you on the show live here.
Great.
All right, shall we dive into this week's content?
Post-play. Yes, there's foreplay and there's post-play. Yes. You know, from our friends Amber and Nathan, you know, they taught us about what they called the sacred and the secular, and the on-ramps. We translate it into the on-ramps and off-ramps, whether it's the on-ramp and off-ramp to an argument or the on-ramp and an off-ramp to a sexual interlude with your beloved. And, you know, the foreplay gets a lot of talk, right? Especially, you know, last week or a couple weeks ago we talked about how a man can be a light switch and a woman is a boiling pot of water. Totally different approaches. You know, that applies, you know, here as well, that yes, foreplay gets all this attention, but let's not forget about that precious, juicy, post-orgasmic chill time after you've just made love with your beloved. And as I said in the blog this week, I grew up in California, and I lived on the beach, and so I'd spend all day long on the beach in the summers, and I boogie boarded. And I'd be on the wave, and I'd bounce that wave. I'd want to ride the wave all the way in. So I'm inviting you out there to apply that to your relationship. Just because the deed is done, it's not really done. And just savor and get every last bit of juiciness out of that precious time.
It really is a time where you can really deep dive into intimacy as well. Even though, you know, having sex with your partner is very intimate, often we don't allow ourselves to experience and get that level of connection with our partner. And just having some time after your climax, or, you know, however your sexual encounter is, if you spend some time after just connecting and being intimate with your partner, you can really dive in a whole lot deeper because you're really open and raw at that time.
Yeah, I have an expression, you know, they say don't leave money on the table when you're in business negotiations. I'm saying don't leave pleasure and passion in the bed, right, or wherever it is that you happen to be. There's a lot of extra that's available to you, and not just for your physical and emotional intimacy, but how that impacts your relationship in the ripple effect. You know, I call it the romance ripple effect, so that you take that intimacy that you're creating, and it's not in the bed, just in the bedroom or wherever you happen to be, but it's actually beyond the bedroom. So don't leave passion and pleasure in the bed. You want to make sure that you gather all of it, get it for all it's worth, you know, good to the last drop, bounce that boogie board wave all the way in, and use that romance ripple effect out into your relationship, and ultimately, as we said, into the world. Because we all know when your relationship sucks, your life sucks, and you have less to give other people. But if you're in love and happy and feel nourished and supported and your babe's got your back, then you have so much more to give. In fact, you feel compelled to give it. So that's really our master plan here, is blow wind in couples' sails so that they can go make a bigger difference in the world.
Yes, I saw you and Prana grin a little bit at some of the distinctions here.
Not just grin, did you see them nuzzling too? There's nice modeling there.
Is there anything before we jump into
there's so much already. I really like your concept or your phrasing of post-play. Generally speaking, I often say I'm not a fan of the word foreplay. It makes everything. We get so focused on fucking, and don't get me wrong, I love it. But
it's got a lot of good things going for it.
but there's this huge spectrum or palette of colors that we can play with, and when we put all of our focus on intercourse, or we can lose sight of all the other colors, all the things that sometimes referred to as foreplay, as like the only reason for the kiss is for the heavy makeout. The only reason for the heavy makeout is to touch the breasts. The only reason to touch the breasts is you can get the pants off. The only reason to get the pants off so that you can stick it in. The only reason you stick it in is so you can come. Okay, we're good. We're done. and that's not a model of sex that I'm a fan of. It's let everything be sex. Let that snuggle be sex. Let the makeout be for the makeout. Let the playing with the breast be for the playing with the breast. Let the oral sex be for the oral sex. It doesn't need to go anywhere. And this is a very tantric perspective of releasing destination, and just how much pleasure, how much enjoyment, how much bliss can you pull out of this, whatever this is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in fact, when I was writing this piece up, I looked up the word climax, to get the actual definition, and was writing in the blog and saying, it's a peak. It's not an end, and there can be many peaks. And as we learned from Susan Bratton, she said, stretch those orgasms like taffy. So now I'm bouncing the boogie board and stretching the taffy. I got all sorts of things that we're playing with in Play and Passion these days. It's been a lot of fun. I look forward to, usually it's the night after we do a show or the night of the show, that there's always some peak in our passion.
Nice.
How did you put it, Destin? Sorry, what was that?
I said, nice. Hopefully we can add to that as well.
Yeah. Yes, you will, I'm sure.
We've had it work the reverse as well. We've had interviewees call us and they're like, that was awesome.
Great. Well, I welcome that too.
I was trying to just represent the phrase that you used, that did you say there is no destination, or is that what you said?
Yeah, let go of any destination, this idea that you're driving towards a particular endpoint. And really allow yourself to sink into how much pleasure, how much enjoyment, how much bliss can you pull out of this moment.
I love that, yeah.
And that also keeps us in this present moment, which allows us to feel everything just more in general.
Yeah, it's interesting because pleasure isn't something that you experience in the future. It's something you experience now. And if
it's same with intimacy.
Yeah.
Well, let me wrap up this. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. That's one of the things about this type of a practice, is that yes, it makes sex and connection and intimacy so much more powerful, but it's also a spiritual practice. It's also like you learn that here, and it makes everything in life better. How you engage with your work, how you engage with the flowers walking down the streets, how you engage with business partners or friends. How much enjoyment can you pull out of every moment? How present can you be in every moment?
Absolutely. It's great to apply that to work, because we have all been there where there's conflict happening in our relationship and we can't think. I mean, if you have to write, forget about the creativity, but or you might get cranky with a colleague at work or something of that nature. So it's not just what's not getting expressed and contributed, but there's also unrest where it can ripple out unpleasantly in other areas of life. So let me just wrap up this thought on post-play, and then I'm going to turn it over to the two of you and just hear what you have to say about, your ideas for this time. Not the during, it's not the technique. It's so great. I love, though, that your name is Destin, but, we're talking about it's not about the destination, so that's perfect. But I just wanted to, because when people give theory, we always like to have some real specifics. So we always finish with an action option, but also I just want to give some specific ideas. Now, as we all know, in a sexual relationship, it is different for everybody. It's different for the same people, different ways at different times. Moment to moment, things change. What's hot one moment may not be another moment. So take this all with a grain of salt and always be refining and feeling into that present moment, as Destin and Prana were just talking about, and feeling in for yourself what is it that you're wanting more or less of. But a few areas that you might look is shared breath. And Destin mentioned Tantra before. Any Tantra book or video, maybe Destin and Prana, you can give some resources for the beginner or to the advanced on what are the, because there's a lot of not so great stuff out there. But shared breath is a tantric practice. You can even look up circular breath, and that's just one way to match your breath so that you're sharing your breath. Often we're laying there with our partner and we're like, oh, it's morning breath. This is the total opposite. This is as intimate as you can be and sharing your breath. Another is deep eye contact. Eyes are the windows into the soul, and in fact, Raj and I are doing a practice. They're called being withs that we got from a educational program that we had been doing. Other people have been doing. We've been taking as a participant, and it's just making eye contact with no words for about 60 seconds. Just be with your partner, and it's amazing how powerful that is.
Yeah, and really practice these things, especially this deep eye contact. It's an easy one to do, and also
simple. For some people, it's not easy. It's so intimate. Yeah.
And you'll have a tendency to look away or fidget or
giggle,
whatever it is that's keeping you from being present. We can see Destin and Prana right now modeling.
They're advanced.
Beautifully.
They're very good at this.
It's an easy one to practice. Yeah, and cuddling is. We like to say that we're Olympic level cuddlers.
We'll actually be in bed and be singing the Olympic anthem because we're just such big fans of awesome cuddling, and we're pretzels, and even if it's really hot, we'll just cuddle with the feet. We'll intertwine our feet together.
That is a good point with the cuddling. Temperature is very important.
Temperature is key, and some people aren't
Let's
as
show
big
them the cuddle and then the reverse cuddle.
Okay, yeah.
So this is, imagine we're lying down, and
there's the handle. We gotta hold the handle. I like the handle.
handle. And
you can't see in the shot. He's got my boob.
And then we go reverse cuddle.
Reverse cuddle. Oh, and then that's
different. And then she's like, "Give me the chest.
Give me the chest. Do we got to do this one?" Snooze.
Snooze. The snuggle snooze.
Snuggle snooze. That's right. The snuggle snooze. Yeah. So. Play around with different forms of cuddling, but there's so much research coming out about skin-to-skin contact, radical stuff about healing, mothers holding their children skin-to-skin for longer, especially when they're first born. Raj and I have tossed our pajamas and really making sure we get as much skin-to-skin contact, whether you're actually, in full throes of the fiery passion or you're just, cuddling up at night. Get as much skin-to-skin contact, but especially in that post-orgasmic chill, or sometimes they call it the post-sex pause. Really take extra time for the cuddling there. Kisses. Raj is pointing. Raj, where's my favorite kisses spot?
Kissing on the neck.
Oh, the neck. It's the neck. Doesn't matter if I'm mad or if he wants to seduce me or whatever it is. The neck is the way to my heart and many other parts of me. And, as I'm saying here on the last bullet point here, is just pick, any other way. And when I say any, I mean any. Just be in communication. Again, you've got that romp recap afterwards when you're scoring and giving feedback, and even better ifing. So just even better ifing, what are some other ways? So, that time I put here in this quote here, don't let that intimacy and goodwill go down the drain. You want to really plug that drain and really use that energy and all of that experience that you just created. So, Destin and Prana, do you guys have any favorites in this realm for the post-play?
Well, first of all, you touched on really good ones. Um, there's there's something I wanted to share on the shared breath. We have a particular way of sharing a breath that I'm a really big fan of, but I also consider incredibly intimate. So, you really got to be ready for it. Yeah. So
you're like, so folks out there, this is the advanced version. We'll back up and we'll do, what do they call it when we're in our workout? The modifier. In yoga classes. So we're going to start in the middle with the advanced version here.
Yeah, well, I mean, we could just be, at a minimum, in the cuddle. Like, I can be holding her from behind and with my hand on her belly and or chest, feeling into each of her inhales and exhales and having my breath match that. Being the larger man, my lung capacity is larger than hers, so I generally take the responsibility to match mine to where hers is.
Nice distinction there. I've heard people say to match, but not the why. But I love that you actually acknowledge the lung capacity. So if you're inspired and you're stretching your lungs, that actually might be uncomfortable for her.
Yeah. So if I like stretching my lung capacity. So I just make mine like more rapid. Like, it will take me. If we both need to go to the same fullness, I just need to be taking in more in that same period of time to hit that fullness at the same time. And likewise on the release.
Yes.
Yeah. So that our breath is going like this together. And the holding of her, I mean, at this point, when you were talking about breath, we're sitting next to each other, and I was able to tune into her breath and breathe with her. That's, over time, you can develop that sensitivity and the sensitivity to be able to feel in and notice it all the more. And that's one of the things I love about playing with matching your breath, is that it trains you to tune into such sensitivities and subtleties in your partner.
That's so great. I noticed about 10 years ago that when I'm experiencing conflict, I will exhale all the way out and not inhale, because it's like I'm pushing the conflict and conversation away from me. So if you're noticing and have that sensitivity to your partner, you can sense really early when there's stress or something coming on, because you're going to notice a fluctuation or a change in their breath. In my case, all the exhale.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's great.
If you want to understand what your partner is feeling, breathe like they're breathing.
Oh, that's great. Oh, gosh, Sarah, write that one down. Will you say that again, Destin? That's awesome.
If
someone says something and you all say, ah.
If you want to understand what your partner is feeling, breathe like they're breathing.
Yeah, if you want to understand what your partner is feeling, breathe like they're breathing. I love that.
Yeah. So here's a little advanced breath. So one of you can exhale while the other is inhaling. But when you bring your mouths together, we can just have our breaths here, where we have a mixture of the external air and the other person's breath, which we love that. But then, once we get in with that, then we'll lock our lips together. So it's a complete seal, and we're literally sharing a single breath back and forth.
Wow.
What I love about this, the level of intimacy, is that if you think of our breath not just as oxygen, but as prana, as chi, as that universal life force energy itself, then when I'm breathing in, I take in that source energy. When I exhale, that source energy mixes with my own, like the molecules of my being when it's inside of my lungs. Then I exhale that mixture of source and me out from me directly into her, penetrating her with that. She takes me into her body. It now mixes with her essence, the molecules of her being inside of her. and she exhales, penetrating my being as I take that in, further mixing in, and just swirling back and forth as literally molecules of my being mix with molecules of her being, and we pass that back and forth, back and forth.
Wow, honey, this is going to be a fun EBI to try. Yeah, this is next level.
A little modeling here.
We'll often pass that back and forth until we're dizzy.
And it's just like coming up from water, you know, you just come up, get a little bit more, and you can go in for another round. Awesome. Well, and I just love breath work in general because it's free and it's always with you. You may think you're never going to be without your phone, but you really are never without your breath, or at least hopefully not. So I love it when people come on and give any new breath tricks, tips. It's awesome.
And Destin, you were saying that this is the advanced. Is that the advanced version?
Yeah. So the medium version again would be just here, where we're getting the outside air and each other's breath.
They're melting.
Yes, though with that we can also add in some sound, and the sound amplifies the experience. Also seems to add more turn-on feel to the whole thing.
I actually took on cooing for a while because, you know, I've been a fairly task-oriented, masculine, practical kind of gal most of my life. And I remember once, you know, a woman was performing or dancing and she was cooing and oohing, and I was like, oh, that just is so coercive. And I realized, like, there was just this whole access through the voice and this vibration that is so, you know, connected to so many things, not just your physicality now, but over time, and the channel that really can open up in your whole body when you vocalize, however that vocalizing is happening, singing, you know, vocalizing during sex, or cooing. And so
I'm sorry, I'm not sure what cooing means. You're going to have to demonstrate for us. Yeah, I think we did quite a bit of that.
Every cooing breakthroughs.
So another big one that came up for me when in preparation for this, which we have not done enough of, and this is thank you, because I want to play more with this, is, how do I explain this? There's this game that I've played at different points.
That's a good start. We like games around here.
There are these games that I like playing around sex where if you know you have all day where you can just luxuriate with one another. I like having these, maybe we could play with like 5 minutes or 10 minutes or even 1 minute every hour on the hour of like focused sex play. Like you have the alarm going off every hour on the hour, and it goes off, we jump in with one another, we can play it, we can go as deep as we want. It might just be some kissing and make out, we might just go straight into quickie going, except no coming for either one of us. And the idea is to just activate the sexual energy and just keep it running all day. Just keep it running all day. Keep it hot all day. Stir it up, stir it up, stir it up, no resolution. Just higher, 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 higher. Bubble. You were talking about the pot boiling. Keep it boiling all day.
This is one of those like slow 1-2 day simmers. Like we're cooking this one down to the highest quality taste.
And that's the thing, like I've done this as like a work day before, where we could both work from home, and so it's like, okay, here's the rule: you have to be productive. If you're productive during the 50 minutes, you get 10 minutes of extra heat.
And I bet this aids in creativity and productivity, you know, really, because, you know, often we get stopped or confronted or distracted during the day, but, you know, even the physicality of, you know, the blood awakening and having more oxygen pumping is probably pretty great for productivity.
Yeah, exactly.
Twist on Evan Pagan's
Wake Up Productive.
Wake Up Productive, where it does his 60-60-30 work sessions, where you work, you rest, you work, and you rest.
So work, get it on, work, make out.
You got it.
He's about to release a relationship product, so we'll tell him he can connect those two products: Wake Up Productive and his Intimacy Intensive. Sorry, Prana, you were going to say something?
Yeah, and I feel like that, yes, work and then getting on, that there's that flow, but also for us, like everyday activity, like cooking or having a meal or actually washing the dishes is my favorite part, because Destin helps me. And from behind.
As part of the full day boiling pot you're talking about?
Well, that's the thing, is that, like, okay, you know, I was speaking of a very particular game, but now what she's referring to is just more of an ongoing way of being. It's just a way of being and a way of life that I feel too many people end up compartmentalizing sex so much. It's like there are very particular times and places in which it's okay to feel your sexuality, and then other than that, it's not supposed to exist.
Yeah, and then people lose sight of it, and then they say, oh, I just don't have time for sex, and then they're embarrassed at how long it's been since they've had sex and all of that.
And then you got to defrost before you...
That's what we talk about, the on-ramps and the off-ramps. You want to keep short on-ramps, right? So it's not this long, windy on-ramp. We call those mastering mini-seductions, which we talk about in, I think, How to Keep the Sex Dirty Before. But absolutely, and in fact, we have a shared relationship vision that we say to each other every day. It's 4 or 5 sentences. And one of the lines is, we are playful, peaceful, and passionate. We are hot for each other and express it daily.
I love... could you talk a little bit about the importance of maintaining this sexual energy instead of just having it regulated to these specific times, if at all, if you're lucky?
Yeah, well, everybody's so busy out there, you know. What should they do after the sex?
People often will think that sex is an important part of your relationship, but they don't get the full spectrum of how important it is, you know. And often we can be like, okay, that part of our relationship isn't working, and we just think it's some small part of our relationship, when in fact it's a massive part of our relationship and our own personal development and being.
Yeah.
Just wondering if you might say a little bit.
Yeah, and of course, chime in. Throughout the day, every day, like, we're both very physically affectionate people. And I've tried in the past being in relationships with people who were anti-PDA, public displays of affection, and it was a disaster. Because I am it's not so much that, okay, yes, we both have certain exhibitionist qualities to us. We do.
Outing yourself right here. No pun intended.
However, for me, it's less about, oh, we're in public, we have to be, we have to be exhibitionistic. It's more of, I don't care if we're in public or we're in private, we express our love with one another physically as a big part of how we express it. And when, there's no shame about it, and it's something that's celebrated. So, if anything,
I like to say the world needs more love. We want to see more love in the world. Not, you know, the couple, you know, standing on the street corner in an argument, and you're like, oh gosh, been there, you know, don't want to be, you know, what about them? Must suck being them. You know, we need to see couples go, wow, I want what you have. How did you guys do that?
Yes, we actually had it as what part of one of our relationship games that I think it was 3 times that people stop and say, wow.
Yeah, say wow. And once when our game was called, you know, our personal goals we set every 90 days, was one of them was called Bringing Sexy Back. And we actually had a goal that we'd have 3 people tell us, get a room.
Yeah, that was it.
It's like, that's how we'll know, like, how will you know that you brought sexy back? We're like, 3 times people will tell us, get a room. We did it.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, and once we were saying goodbye to each other, about to go into 2 different cars in different directions, and we were kissing, saying goodbye, and someone drove by, and they said, it was about around Valentine's Day, and they said, well, happy Valentine's Day. We counted that one. We're like, that's get a room.
Yeah, so I mean that's the thing. I mean, like it's wonderful that things like Valentine's Day exist as a reminder to put the spotlight on your love of romance and sex with one another. But you know, we need to take it away from just being about a day a year where you buy a Hallmark card and roses. But
if you pay attention to this once a year, you're going to have a very long and windy on-ramp to getting where you want to go.
Yeah.
Well, every day should be Valentine's Day.
It's the experience, not the destination alone, right? We're saying, but you don't want to set yourself up with all of these hurdles that you have to get through, and separation and numbness that people put up with, becoming, you know, roommates and living parallel lives, but really nurturing that intimacy in the in-between. So those
here's another important piece of this, though, and that's your relationship to yourself and your own sexuality. I think that this plays a big reason why people are like this in in their relationship, is because this is how they are with themselves. And so, hello.
Just one sec, Destin, and hold that thought. The live button has gone live, and Megan, thank you for joining us.
The live button is live. Yes, live. Thanks, Sarah, for making that happen.
I'm enjoying the Hangout button live, so feel free to jump in here. Yeah.
And if you are watching this and you don't see the Hangout button, just hit refresh and that button that said add to calendar will now say join live.
Good. Sorry to interrupt.
No worries. So yes, so simply just learning to have an awareness of and connection to your own sexuality outside of very time-specific things as well. One of my original mentors was Joseph Kramer, the founder of the sexological bodywork profession, and he would speak about the genital hole and how people walk through their lives as if they've got they have these bodies, but then there's just this hole where their genitals are, as if it doesn't exist. And then suddenly they get into a sexual situation, and then suddenly it was the reverse genital hole, where that's all that exists. And so what we're really speaking about is an integration, where your sexuality is part of you as you move through your life. And likewise, the whole of you comes into your sex.
Yes.
Say that last.
The whole of you, everything that is a part of you, your history, your desires, your fears. It's not like, this is my sexual side and I'm bringing this to sex now. It's all of you. And it's in both directions.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, the welcome.
Hey.
So those for me are the biggest pieces. In the aftermath, taking this energy that got built up during the romp, and holding it as long as you can, and then just continuing to tap in, continuing to play with it. These breath games that you may have played with, you can play with those breath games throughout the day. You can
intertwine nuzzling with breath games. I saw there very much. It's
you can highlight them during the romp, where there's such incredible high amount of juice, it can really sink it into you. But then take that and then play with it 15 minutes later, half an hour later, an hour later, 2 hours later, so that you're continuing to touch it, touch it. And it's a way of anchoring these feelings that you have during the romp itself, and touch back to those feelings throughout the day, so that then, bring it back in, have a midday romp.
Afternoon delight.
Yeah.
Really, like, what I hear you saying is that you're incomplete in terms of your wholeness as a human being and your expression as a human being if this part of you is shut off or only accessed very occasionally. And if you work on ways or play with ways to integrate it into your daily existence and have your partner with you in that, it really expands your experience of life. In addition to the pleasure in all of this, it really expands who you are.
You got it.
Love it.
Thank you.
So we have some awesome people joining us on the call today, and so if you have any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat window, and then we know that you'd like to interact, and we'll unmute you, and we'd love to answer your questions.
And while someone's putting a question up, Raj, remember we just want to look real briefly at the action option.
Okay, great.
Because again, you always want to anchor something. One of my former mentors used to always say to me, how are you going to use and adapt this? How are you going to use and adapt this? So this is a map. There's many paths, many maps. And Destin and Prana, if you have any like specifics, like, practice this breath exercise or whatever it may be. But in this case, in regards to the post play, you heard me mention the post orgasmic chill. First, ask your partner in advance and find out what is it like for them. Some people, especially if they have body temperature issues, they're not a fan of cuddling or whatever it may be, but find out what does feel good for them. Some people, they might have some energy and want to jump up, but can you jump up and jump in a hot tub and have a bubble bath together? So really find out for your partner what it is that they're most interested in. And then the next time, after you're actually getting it on, then in that time of the post-sex pause, really after those, take at least 5 minutes as a minimum, and just at least that's a bare minimum. And if you do that 5 minutes, then it has to be at least half of that with eye contact, because there's no faster way than that eye contact. You throw in the breath on top of that, it's like you're getting a lot of impact in a short amount of time. But extend that time as long as possible. And as we mentioned a few of those ideas, the eye contact, breathing with each other, you can try the breath where you have the outer air, or you can go ahead and seal that lock and share that until you're dizzy. I love that. We breathed each other's breath until we were dizzy. And then just savor the moment and actually say so. Like, feel free to use your words, or we're talking about cooing, and really share what it is that you're just communicating, that you relish in this moment, you relish in your partner, you relish in the gift that you've just given each other. And then Raj and I, we refer to these as passion practices. You probably heard us with our peace practices before. We take the friction factors and we turn them into peace practices. These are about the passion practices. So afterwards, after you've asked it before in advance and then you've tested them out afterwards, then ask each other, how was that? Would you like more eye contact? What about that other breath? Should we try even, taking it to the next level and seal in the lock? And just be in dialogue so that you make talking about your sexual, intimate relationship as common as, like, what'd you think of that dinner last night? Or how about that restaurant? Or what about that movie? It's not like this, oh, we're going to talk about our sex life now and I've got to put on my shame hat and get all embarrassed and no, none of that.
Again, for okay, we got a comment or question from Tressa. Is there a specific benefit or difference between doing synchronized breath versus alternating breath?
Oh, I like this.
Okay, so her answer was, well, they're definitely different. More than anything, I'm a big fan of expanding your palette of pleasurable possibilities.
Ooh, expanding your palette of pleasurable possibilities. You'd be so my heart, Destin. You know how much I love alliterations, a triple one.
So in other words, I'm a yes and type of a person. Explore both. So synchronized breathing, meaning that we're both breathing in together and breathing out together. In together, out together. And alternate breathing. As I breathe in, she breathes out. As she breathes in, I breathe out. So it's like passing that breath back and forth. Please.
I don't quite know how to explain clearly, but I feel like it connects the different parts of us. This two different types of breathing, where like you're breathing together, synchronized breathing, is more of like kind of slowing down each other to match in certain rhythm of that breath. And while the alternating does the same, but I feel like that maybe in that sense it's a little bit more advanced, not in terms of technique, but in terms of that what you share. Because it literally goes in and out of our bodies and then back and forth, and it really deepens as you do, and so that's how I see.
Yeah, my go-to in general in life is I'm a both-and kind of gal. I did a year-long personal development course, and I got this distinction, this tool of the word both, and for a while it didn't matter what people asked me. My first knee-jerk reaction was always both, and then I had to slow myself down a little bit there. But just that general, it's like experiment. As I said before, everybody's different and every moment is different. So, when we're playing passion, these are passion practices. We're practicing. It's not about being perfect, and we're exploring and, just really playing to see what feels good in the moment and staying present with your partner to see what's working for them.
I guess I tend to relate to the synchronized breathing as it puts us onto the same page. Like it has us match our vibration, our emotional states, whereas the alternate breathing feels more like it's a mixing of our energetic states.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Tressa, if you guys would like to jump in and talk live, we can unmute. Sarah, would you just unmute this guy?
Well, apparently another couple join us.
Thank you for that distinction. I appreciate it, and that was all I was just curious as you spoke about the different breath techniques. Thank you. Good to see you all.
Lovely to see you.
Great. So, when you guys were showing the alternating breath, my experience, even without having done it, was just like, wow, that's really intimate, and in a way almost that there's a little bit of fear around it. So in that, I know that it's pushing my boundaries of intimacy. And when you said that's like the more advanced version, especially with the lips locked specifically, I was like, that does sound advanced.
Well, I know that when I was single and promiscuous, I was much more willing and quick to have sex with somebody than I would have been to do that type of breath exchange.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if that's just my own psychology around it, but it just felt a particular kind of intimacy that I don't know, like being in deep partnership, it's heaven.
Hey, I mean, even in the classic movie Pretty Woman, right? That's their rule, no kissing. Let alone, a shared circular breath, right?
That would have been interesting. No circular breathing.
No circular breathing. The line kind of didn't just roll off the tongue the same way there, does it?
And
that's great.
So, aside from that, in the post, if you've, I'm sorry, I haven't yet seen your before, just as it starts and during episodes. But if you're playing with elements of what some people refer to as sex magic, or setting for some sort of intention to with your sexual energy, so there are different ways that you can relate to this. You can relate to it from, I live in California. I can be pretty woo-woo these days, but I'm also originally from
the. We can handle it around here, Destin. Come as you are.
I'm also originally from New York and have a need to be very grounded as well. So you can really speak of it from both ends. From the woo-woo perspective, thoughts are things. By setting forward an intention, it's a way of communicating, like with the universe, of what you're wanting, and the universe can help. It starts to attract what you're desiring into your world. From we'll call it a more grounded perspective, when you're in heightened sexual states, the kind of gateway between your conscious and unconscious minds opens. The veil lifts. And there's an easier communicate or more fluid communication between those parts of yourself. So when you're in orgasm and that veil lifts, setting forward an intention helps sink it deeper into the unconscious parts of your mind. And the unconscious part of your mind is well understood to be far more powerful than the conscious part of your mind. So it is doing all sorts of things. It is running all sorts of programs that your conscious mind doesn't even need to be aware of, and it's working in your favor.
So you want to plug it in advance, and if you're going to be on autopilot, at least, my girlfriend Amber, she had a company called Dharma Mix. She said you need your media vitamin. You want to be inserting. There's all this stuff coming at you, so insert in advance, and this is what you're talking about. You're kind of like, putting in that intention, and often Raj and I will say just a little bit of intention, attention, and action spread out consistently over time really can make a huge difference. We really try to emphasize that this doesn't have to be work. I mean, come on, we're talking about sex here, right? This is supposed to be fun here. So bringing that sense of play to it, but also that it's for lack of a better word, front-loading it. It's like put your intention out there in advance. As they say, expectations are really powerful. So what is it? What do you want to get out of your experience, or give to your experience, or share from your experience?
So you can put, like, getting clear, like if you're doing some form of intentional ritual around your lovemaking, or even just at the start getting whether separately or together, that there's something that you want to be manifesting or creating or bringing into your life, then you can speak it out loud or just internally. It's like a mini prayer at the start of your lovemaking. You can then tap back into it during the sex. And maybe you just end up having like an image of that which you want to bring forward. Like maybe you have a new home you want to get together in North County, San Diego. And, just saying. So maybe you have an image of what that would look like. So you can just like you have the image already, so you can that acts as a visual anchor. So you can just like bring back that image during. You can just like touch upon it here and there while you're otherwise just fully in the experience. And then
you're manifesting and attracting your new dream home.
Then awesome. As you're orgasming, whether together, great, or individually, great. You get to do it twice. Refocus it onto that image or that phrase that you have created that helps evoke that feeling or that desire that you have. And then in the aftermath, you can languishly even talk about your dream, that which you're manifesting, that which you're bringing in, so that you're just sinking it in, and making it part of the experience, the sexual experience itself. So beautiful. After being your dream manifestation.
Yeah, what a lovely conversation. There's so much depth here in the part of lovemaking and our sexual relationship that we usually don't pay that much attention to. So we're at the end of our...
And before you do the wrap-up, though, honey, you guys just not only the content you talked about, but I just love who you were being and modeling, and every time we were talking about an idea, you were just relishing in each other and the moment, and it's just really, really fun being with you. So there you go, honey. Sorry about that.
Great. No, I was thinking the same thing, but thank you for articulating. Yeah.
Okay.
So we're just going to tell you a little bit about...
This is our last show for the season. So again, thank you, Destin and Prana, for being here for the last episode. And we just want to share with everyone a few resources if you're interested in finding out more about relationship fun and games, or how to keep the fights clean and the sex dirty. And of course, with Destin and Prana, see if you can catch up with them either online or where they are globetrotting across the planet.
Well, in a moment we'll show you some ways that you can be in touch with them. So as Gabby mentioned, this is our last episode of Season 2, the Season of Peace. And one of our objectives here has been to support you and supply you with a wealth of information on how you can have a peaceful, playful, passionate relationship during the holiday season.
P3!
And you have probably 3 weeks or so before Christmas and New Year's and all that, so you can check out our replays at the URL shown here.
Yeah, it can be a really stressful time leading up to the holidays, a lot to do, who you're going to spend the holidays with, and all of that, so I really do encourage you to check out some of those videos, maybe, put one on your phone, so as you're, riding in the car or at a road trip. Raj and I, we should redo that meditation and send it out as the Christmas, the Inner Magic Joy Cycle. We actually have a meditation we carry on our phone, so if we have a conflict, we're like, let's take a ride on the Inner Magic Joy Cycle, and literally 10 minutes, and it doesn't matter what state you're in, it is shifted.
Yeah, let's get that happening. Awesome, and if you want to find out, if you want to check out just a quick view of some of our top tips and tools and tricks, you can opt in and grab our 25-page free guide. It's beautifully done and
really nice top-level summary. Yeah,
highlights our top-level tools.
Easy to scan, and we like things to be pretty as well. We want them to be beautiful to look at because, again, we don't want this to be work. This should be fun, right?
And if you want to go a little bit deeper, you can check out our ebook, and that's at this URL/ebook. And here we go further into depth of the topics that we just are touching on top level in the free guide. And we carry you all the way through from step 1, admitting and take action.
Yeah, because you're never going to do anything if you don't admit that there's something going on. Why do anything? There's no issue. Our relationship is fine, which I like to say, fine is effed up, right? It's fucked up. And every time someone says, I said, how's your relationship? Oh, it's fine. I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. Fine is a slippery slope to totally effed up. Yeah.
The book will definitely help you shift out of fine and move to fantastic.
Yeah. And fabulous. Why stop at fantastic? We're going all the way for fabulous.
We're going to be launching a 6-week program coming up in the new year, so stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, Gabby has one slot open for her awesome high-touch one-on-one program. You want to say a little bit about that?
Yeah, just letting people know that, the one thing that's different, and we've actually referenced it a couple of times in the show tonight, is about bringing play instead of work. And most relationships do what we call, I read this somewhere, I don't know who to give credit to, but problem pathologizing, or dissecting your dramas. And, we went to therapy for a year before we got married, and sometimes we'd leave the therapist even more angry than when we got there. You're just kind of stirring the pot. A lot of things you can work through, but we want to take an approach about really identifying how you want your relationship to be and then moving towards that. So it's not, I don't like that you did that or you didn't do this, but it's, are we being who we said we wanted to be together? So you come together, and in fact, Raj and I mentioned a part of our shared relationship vision earlier, the part about we're playful, peaceful, passionate, we're hot for each other and express it daily. That's a little snippet of about a 5 or 6 sentence reduced shared relationship vision. But what I do is I work with couples to create that. What is your declaration of who you say you are as a couple? And then create a 12-week program so that we take those 6 areas that are most important and most challenging to you and make them new normals, because it's all about the habits and the continuity, which is why we do something over 90 days. So
it really is amazing when you get conscious about creating the relationship you want rather than suffering around what you have and don't have.
And don't get me wrong, you actually do work at your issues, not work, cut myself, play, but looking at your issues, but you do it more in the context that, you know, those are the challenges, or the hurdles for what you really want, but it's not the core of what you focus on. So that's a little bit about what I do with couples.
Yeah, we had an argument this weekend about one of our recurring friction factors. And we really got present to, it was about Gabby's talking and my wanting to talk more and not talking.
I can't get a word in edgewise.
That's the
what we call it.
Argument. And not to go into too much depth about it, but we could have suffered all weekend around this upset we had related to that, or Gabby got just like totally in my face and was like, you know,
we're playing a
game around this. Use the tools, and we totally did, and we solved it, and we had a great weekend.
I've actually said before, we have 36 distinctions. Choose one. We have no excuses to be arguing, right? Yeah. No excuses.
You know, like Gabby said earlier in the show,
it lasted like 10 minutes instead of the whole weekend.
Yeah. If your relationship sucks, your life sucks, and I bet you can all attest to that.
Yes.
So just be proactive and have it be the way that you want it to be.
Absolutely. Proactive.
So if you want to be in touch with Prana and Destin, one way to get in touch with them is listed here. And also you can find out more about Relationship Fun and Games.
And I just want to say about Destin with Embodied Man and the work that he's doing with men in the world. Thank you so much for that work. You know, I have met some of the men that have been through your program and seen not just what it does, you know, around them, but just how they are, their confidence and their self-love and the lack of urgency or pushiness or discomfort or anxiety, and just seeing people get comfortable in themselves, that when someone loves themselves, how attractive that is and what that brings into their lives. It's just a really beautiful service that you're doing with Embodied Man. So thank you for that.
Thank you, men listening. Come join us.
Now,
Now's
the time.
A different man coming out of that program, so thank you so much.
And if I can just remind everyone on the call, you know, that November is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and that's one of the ways that I first met Destin, was him speaking on this topic. And while we all have the luxury right now, and we're talking about how to have, you know, you probably have a pretty decent relationship, even a great one, and you're looking at how to make it more awesome, and maybe you have your challenges that you're dealing with, but you wouldn't be here if you didn't have a relationship that was worth really playing peace and playing passion for. But Destin, if there's any organization that you want to mention specifically, I know you have one in mind, and I so appreciated at your workshop the good half an hour or even longer that you went into talking about this organization that doesn't just raise awareness about domestic violence, but has a very much pro-peace message.
Yeah, well, it's called Peace Over Violence, and you know, it's been very groundbreaking in regards to the work that it's been doing around particularly domestic violence, and I invite you to check it out at I believe peaceoverviolence.org, and certainly if you're here during Relationship Fun and Games again, chances are you're seeking more and better and wonderful, and we've been modeling and showcasing truly exceptional aspects of relating with one another. However, every day there are so many people who are in such pain and such suffering and such dysfunctional and abusive relationships, and often have no idea where to turn or what to do. Mm-hmm. I find that particularly by engaging and helping support organizations like this, it can also help really sink you deeper into your sense of gratitude for what you do have.
Absolutely.
It'll only make your own relationship better while helping those who could really use your assistance.
Yeah.
Thank you, Destin. That's well said, and a really great way to wrap up. It's been so fun talking to you. I didn't even realize that we're 5 minutes over here. So thank you so much for being with us. And again, everyone, check out the episode library for this episode, last season's episodes. Pretty soon they will be pulled down and sold as packages. But for now, they're up for your viewing pleasure. So enjoy. We really are committed to as many people on the planet having the playful, peaceful, passionate P3 relationships. We so appreciate you being here and doing what it takes, because wonderful is worth it.
Totally worth it. For those of us in the U.S. celebrating Thanksgiving, have a great holiday. And as Destin mentioned, express to your partner the gratitude that you have for what's working in your relationship.
Yes, absolutely.
Thanks for joining us. And when are we starting season?
We're going to start January 6th with the Season of Passion, and just before Valentine's Day. January and February is the Season of Passion. So stay tuned. We'll have 8 more episodes on how to keep the fights clean and the sex dirty, going through before, as it starts, during, and after. And we look forward to sharing a whole bunch of new awesome interviewees with you as well.
Have a great holiday season. Love your partner.
Thank you.
Thanks again, Destin and Prana.
Thank you.